Hey guys, how's it going? So today I would like to try to create a winter centerpiece for this table right behind us. So we walk by this table a lot throughout the day. It's right by our back kitchen door, which is the one that we use the most to go in and out of our house. And so I always like to have something kind of pretty sitting here on the table, but since it's winter time, it's got to be something that can handle the cold. I actually had this sitting here this summer with some Plectranthus in there, something in lime. I can't remember the exact variety name. Anyway, it was really pretty and simple, and it was easy to move on and off the table because Aaron and I do use this table for projects and for flower arrangements and things. So that's the thing with this winter arrangement. We won't be using this table quite as much because it's just so darn cold out here, but I just want something pretty. The whole rest of the area is looking a little stark compared to what it usually looks like because one, we did remove the Japanese maple finally that was sitting here in this pot. It had languished for part of last year, and then this year I tried to see if we could get it to do something, and it just never came out of whatever had happened to it. So we removed that. And then these trellises here, they're gorgeous just on their own, but they're typically covered with pink meat clematis that just kind of, they don't like 100% cover it. So you can still see the structure, but they do add some softness that is now gone. Anyway, I mean, I do like the tidy look, but it'll be pretty to have something here as well. I picked up some fairy lights that we might use in this project. So when I was at the craft store recently, I was looking through their holiday stuff, and I saw a really cute little mini evergreen tree that they had made. It was artificial, of course, and this one won't be. I have real greens to try to make this. But what it looked like was a little log base, and then they had made a hole in that log and put a branch in it, and then lashed some artificial like evergreen picks to it, making it look like an evergreen tree. It was so cute. And I thought, you know what, I could forage around. Our neighbors have this brush pile that they said we could go pick some stuff out of. I thought I could go get some logs and branches. We can grab some greens and just see what we can come up with here. If I could create a little grouping of those inside a container with some moss and pine cones, and I do have a little deer figurine, I think that'd be really cute. So we're here in the studio. I want to show you kind of what I'm thinking. So I did mess around with this just a little bit to see if it was possible, and I do think it is. I have this metal container from, it was from the garden center. I picked it up a long time ago. We've done several gardens in this. Anything low, I think, would work really well for this. Nothing that I'm planning on using in this garden needs to be watered, which is so nice. This is going to be something we can stick outside. Nothing is tender to the cold. Nothing has to be watered. It's just one of those things we can just sit out there and be pretty. So I'm not concerned about the vessel or the container being watertight. I think this one is, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. So you can see the base here, and then I just used a spade bit to cut the middle out, and then here's my branch, and I've got some evergreens outside, but I do need to go get more. Like this isn't gonna do, well, it might. It kind of gets straight. It would give it character, right? I'm thinking of making 3 trees at differing heights, but we need to go grab a few more supplies. This is what I've got out so far. We've got a drill. There's the spade bit I was using. I think it'll depend on the size of branch. This is a 3/4 inch here, and then a reciprocating saw to cut my stuff, which you wouldn't need. You could just use a hand saw. It wouldn't take that long. These are actually leftover supplies from when I was working on Benjamin's butterfly garden. And I wasn't really thinking about this project when I was doing that one, so I didn't get exactly what I needed. That's why I need to run back over and see if I can find some straight branches for the uprights. Yeah. Already seeing some good contenders out here. That's a pretty easy pile right there. Yeah, there's some nice straight sticks in there. Perfect. This is exactly the type that I'm looking for right in here. See how straight that is? Something without a curve in it will be really nice. So I'm gonna gather a few that look just like this. Probably like there's a good one right here with a smaller diameter. I just need a handful. Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, I think I've got everything I need for the project. Now, you could go with a branch or a log that's much wider than this and that's heavier. This is a really dense branch. I'm not sure what kind of tree this came off of, but it's pretty heavy. So I'm hopeful that it'll stay upright once we get all the greens attached to the branch, the vertical branch that we're going to put in here. So I've got my safety glasses here. We're gonna put these on and get one of these cut. I think I'm gonna cut two. because one of the ones I cut before is a little bit wonky. So anyway, reciprocating saw, you could use a hand saw for this. And I'm just gonna cut it about here. So it's at like 4 or 5 inches or so. Here we go. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. One more. I think most normal people would do this step outside. I'm pretty sure. Okay, that looks great. I'm gonna clean this up a little. Well, actually, you know what? Nope. Cleaning not necessary until our next step is done, which is using the spade bit to make our hole in the middle here. I'm gonna swap batteries. This is why we have all DeWalt tools, because I can swap batteries from tool to tool really easily. Okay, so in this one here, I'm thinking this branch would be good. And I'm gonna start with the 3/4 inch spade bit here because I think that that'll be nice. I might have to trim up these little knots on the side, but I do want it to be kind of a snug fit. I don't want it to be super loose. So anyway, so I'm just gonna find a spot right here in the center, and I'm gonna try to make the hole fairly deep because the deeper the branch is, the more stability it has. Okay, before we get too far, I'm just gonna test this. It's looking like it's not gonna be, yeah, I might have to go up a size. Hang on, let me change out my bit. This is a 15/16. I didn't even know I had that size. Okay, let's test that. You know what, that one's a little bit too big. I don't have anything in between though, so what I think I'll do is still use this, and I've got a little bit of putty that I can just kind of put down in the hole to help stabilize it. And you could stick anything in there. I mean, you could stick a little branch down in there on either side just to kind of help support it. Okay, I got the first hole done. Now it looks to be a little bit off center. I don't know how I did that, but this is reminiscent of when I made those birch candlestick holders a long, long time ago. I had to use a little bit of a bigger spade bit, but this is essentially the same thing. You just kind of ream out a hole and put your tea light down in there, and then you've got some really neat wood candlesticks. So let's test this out. Yep, it's a little bit loose, but what you can do is you get it positioned. Actually, that looks really good. So you can see I've got some space on this side. So I'm just gonna take some branches. I'll just skip the putty. Just take some branches and start filling up that hole right there. And we'll get it nice and tight in there. That'll work out perfect, just little wedges like that. Now I don't think I actually want my tree to be this tall, so I'm gonna cut it a little ways down here. About here. Ooh. It's hanging on by a thread. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, let's get the hole done in this one real quick so that we've got them both prepped and ready to roll. And I think I'm just gonna start this one down on the ground in between my feet. It's just easier. So much faster. Oh yeah. Still a tiny bit loose. So again, we are just gonna find a little stick here. We'll wedge it in there. There, perfect. And then I'm gonna cut this one down about where it forks. There we go. Perfect. So now that I have the structure of these kind of complete, I'm gonna clear all of this stuff off, bring in my evergreens and wire, and we're just gonna put these together. I don't think this is gonna take very long. It's really not that involved of a project, honestly. Okay, I'm gonna start with my tallest one first. So I've got my base structure. I've got paddle wire, which is this 22 gauge paddle wire, and then my pruners, and then I've got some Spring Grove Arborvitae here. So what I think I'm gonna do is just, cause like this is essentially what we're going for right here. I mean, just a thicker version. So I'm just gonna select a few branches and wire them to the top of this branch. I think that's all there is to this project. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a few pieces of paddle wire just to have off to the side and ready to go. I think the main thing, just kind of like when you're making wreaths or swags, you want to make sure to tie them on with the wire really tight because the greens will desiccate, they will dry, and when they do that, they shrink up a little bit. So if you don't have that wire tight, they can tend to want to fall out of wherever you've got them attached to. So let's see, I might have to trim some up a little bit, but this one's nice and forked at the top. I don't know if I should do them individually or all at the same time, maybe individually. That way we make sure we've got the wire tight. So I've got my wire here. I'm gonna go ahead and go around the top of this one and attach it like this. I've got my wire attached and then around and around. Kind of manipulating the branch, making sure I like the way it looks. Ooh, this is a nice big one, nice and fluffy. I think that's another beautiful thing about this project is it doesn't seem to take a lot of evergreens, just a few stems. I'm gonna cut this one. It was sticking out a little bit far. And because I'm gonna be putting 3 of these together in the same container, I need them to be kind of slim. I'm just gonna slide a few pieces in, like if you look at this side right here, you can see it's a little bit empty. So I'm gonna slide a piece right up in here and just kind of fuss with this a little bit to where I like the shape of it. That looks really cute. Okay, let's move on to the next one. For the next tree here, I've got the smallest actually of the 3 base structures. I'm gonna use this noble fir for this one. I thought it would be pretty to use a different evergreen for every tree because that's what you do find in a woodland forest type situation. But the shortest one I think will be the best for this type of evergreen because it tends to be a little bit more squat and wide. Like even the longer pieces here, they have a little bit more width. It's not as like wispy as the Arborvitae was to work with. So I'm thinking something like this might be nice. Let me get all of my wire set first. I'm gonna cut more than I did last time. I have a feeling I'm gonna be fussing with this once it's in its garden too. Like if one of the trees is a little too wide, I think you can kind of wire the branch in a little bit. Kind of fun. So same way, I just have my piece of wire attached to this. We're just going to wire it on. And keep building until we like the way it looks. Oh, I don't like how this one's turning out at all. I'm gonna tear this one apart. I think that this one was already kind of my wonky one. So I'm going to try cutting this one down to size so that I'm not dealing with a branch that is bent. That's part of my problem, see that? This type of green just might not lay the same. We'll see. Turned out pretty cute. Look.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
Okay, now the last one, I'm going to use Princess Pine, which looks like this. This is going to be interesting though, because this is much more airy of an evergreen. It's going to take a lot more. Here we go. Oh my gosh, they turned out so cute. A little bit bigger than I had anticipated though, so I think I'm gonna only be able to fit 2 in this container rather than all 3. Look at them though. So simple. So simple, I can't even believe it. Now, I kind of worked out by the last one that it's better to lash some on in the middle and create a bottom layer first and then work your way up. Kind of like you do with a garland or a wreath. You know, you start on one end and then kind of build from there. It worked out perfectly. Now I did pop a little bit of hot glue right toward the top just to kind of hold the ends together and then hide the ends of this one because they were a little bit more blunt. I kind of like the little top knot on that one. I don't know, we'll see. I also like put together a little star. It kind of looks like a sand dollar though. Maybe it's the middle thing, I don't know. I was thinking of maybe putting it like that, but I don't think I'm going to. I don't know that I like that. But I did think it would be cute to put a few little cones in there, possibly tuck some winterberry holly in for some color. I do have fairy lights. I've got my little deer here I could put in, and then I need to grab some moss and things. So anyway, I'm super happy with how it turned out though. This was the probably the hardest one right here, the fir, because they're so thick and kind of stubby compared to kind of the graceful branches that are a little bit longer. Like there's Arborvitae in here, Spring Grove, and there's also incense cedar, and that's one that has the little yellow pods there. And then that's Princess Pine. So now I'm just gonna work on putting together the arrangement. I'm gonna grab my moss, probably some larger pine cones, and it just feels good to use things that were laying around in a brush pile, or just, you know, things that we already have on hand, minus a few of the greens here, which I could have harvested out of my own garden. Anyway, yeah, super fun. The next step is to put moss around all of these things. Now I have this bag of Royal Pool Moss. It's a Super Moss brand. I really like it because it comes out in these big pieces, which look really interesting. But I don't think one bag will actually fill up this whole container. So I have a box of bulk kind of cheaper moss that I've reused throughout the years that I'm going to put at the base of this container to be more of a filler, and then I'll use this as a decorative top. Let me grab that moss. See, this moss used to be green, but I've had it for so long and have used it in so many projects that it's now kind of brown, which still, that's kind of natural looking. Might be kind of nice to have a little bit of variation. So I am just kind of spreading it out here, right at the base. Kind of a nice color break from all the green maybe on top. Maybe it's the way I should go. Okay, now let's see what it looks like when I add some of these in. I like the variation right here. I think that's really pretty. Got really sap covered fingers right now. That pine. Whew. Okay, I just changed it. I had all of the evergreens in kind of a trio with a bunch of moss at the base, and it just kind of looked like a blob to me. There was no differentiation between like what my eye was looking at. I really wanted to see some of the base here, and it just like I really needed a space like this, a resting space for your eye. So I thought, let's see, adding stuff like this in will be really nice too, and some pine cones, a little bit of kind of structural things rather than just a bunch of fluff. So anyway, I still have the pine back here and the fir and the Arborvitae just kind of squished together a little bit more. So I'm just gonna fuss with it a little bit, and I'm gonna do most of this from the, well, all of it from the front, because I can't see anything of what's going on at this point. With lights, which I really like. I think that that's going to be kind of a necessary thing and so sweet to see as you walk by the table. I love it. And it's really the only unnatural, I guess, kind of touch in there. It felt, the little red, even though like that looks festive, it felt a little bit too much for this garden. I mean, you could keep adding and adding and adding. You could put little Christmas ornaments hanging off of these trees. You could do whatever you want with these. And it would be really fun just to even do a single tree, or to line these trees up like in a mantle sort of situation. I think that would be really cute. Anyway, I think the last thing to do is just go set this where it's gonna live. And here it is done, sitting on the table where it will live so long as it can hold up to the wind right here. This isn't a tremendously windy spot because it is blocked by the back shade porch, which, oh my word, there's so much stuff in here right now. This is some of my Christmas stuff that I am just still trying to work through. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Our stuff lives in the loft in the barn, but it comes to the back shade porch until I'm done going through all the tubs. So everything gets moved here, I go through it, decorate, and then all the tubs get moved back to the barn until we're ready to undecorate. So right now it's just kind of like, it's a little bit of chaos all over the place. I have 5 trees up so far with plans of doing 1 or 2 more maybe. And then of course tabletops and things like that. So soon the shade porch will be cleaned out. Anyway, back to our garden. I could tack these down because I can still lift these right up out of here. I could tack these down with a little bit of putty or even hot glue. Well, I don't know if the hot glue would stick though. with it being so cold back here. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not too stressed about it. I think it's really pretty right here. If we have any issues with these toppling over, we will probably just move this to the front porch where it's way more protected, or even back in here closer to the door. I'm just really thrilled with how these turned out, given the fact that I'd never made one before, and I usually I never know how to attack these sorts of projects, like how to film them. I'm hoping we got enough footage that you were able to see how I was actually able to get these done. They're pretty simple though. You guys won't have any issue if you try to put these together getting them to look really good, because it's just, they're pretty straightforward. But I never really know how to attack it when I really don't know the steps myself until I actually get into the project. So I'm just really thrilled with how this turned out. I might even tackle a few maybe smaller ones. If I could go back and do it again, I would probably scale the trees down just a little bit. But I think they turned out pretty either way. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and we will see you in the next video. Bye. I gotta go wash all the sap off my hands now.